Hello friends, this is part 32 of Angular 14 series, and in this session we'll discuss about that reactive form along with the array and group. Okay, so in my previous session already discussed about that form group, and if you are new to this session, please watch my previous session, that is part 31, before proceeding this. So here you can see in the screenshot, like we in this session we have considered like name details, one group which is having first name, middle name and last name, and address is having also one group, that is country, state, city. Okay, so along with that group we can have a provision to add more group. Okay, I mean more address. So in that scenario we should use that array instead of group. Okay, so we'll definitely use that group, but that should be inside the form array. Okay, and this is the reason we should use the reactive form, one of the reason, because if we use the reactive form we can create the dynamic control, okay, at runtime. So these are the topic actually we need to discuss. So let's get into the code. So far I have simply have designed static HTML design here, that is name details and the address. Okay, so here actually address group will appear. If I open the browser, so you can see that design, only the simple design, and if I click this plus icon, so more address group will be added inside this panel. Okay, so how do we achieve that? First of all, what I need to do, first I need to go inside this customer form service, and in the customer form service already we have this part. Let me copy paste one more, and let me change init static example, and here I will remove this, and instead of this addresses I will use the group key as addresses, and also I will use one private function here. Let's say this will return basically form group, and this group will have this same thing. Yes, so all the fields are mandatory, and this form control, instead of this, what I will use here, instead of group I will use that array, and here inside this array I will use this method, that address group. Okay, so what is basically what is happening here? So this is static one group, no more names group will be created dynamically, I mean at runtime. But here in the address scenario, user can create the more address group, right? So that is why instead of group I have used here the array, I mean form array. Okay, and this form array actually basically getting the group, and let me keep it as public. Okay, because this will actually I'm going to use from component as well. Now go to the component here. So basically I will use that customer form variable, which will be type of form group, this customer form context dot in this array example, right? So this is basically already discussed in my previous session. So let's add this, and then here from group name, and now these names will have the form control name. Okay, cool. So now this this is ready. Let me quickly check in the browser. Yes, that is ready. And now next part is to here what I'll use, instead of that form group array I will use the form array name, because this form instance actually will have two type. One is the form group, and address basically will have the array type, form array. Okay, so that is why I will use the form array name here. This one will be the array name, and then I will loop through. Now this HTML or DOM element doesn't know this is what is the type of this. okay, because actually it is returning a form group which is type of any. Okay, so that is what I need to do here. Addresses, and this will be getter, and here what I'll use, return this dot get. Here I will pass this key, and I will convert explicitly, I will convert it as form array, so that DOM will get to know, okay, this is the array, okay, form array. Now I will use this getter key inside this, otherwise it will throw an error. Okay, and now what is going on? Okay, so this is basically a group. It is saying form array is not assignable to type ng iterable. Okay, so here basically this address is form array. This form array will have the controls. Now this control, actually if I mouse over on this is abstract control, and this is type of array type, actually it is returning. And now this address, now if I save this change, now let's see whether this will come on or not. Okay, yes, it is coming. Now if I use this add address, now let me go to that part. Yes, add address. So what I'll do, this, so basically I will push the form group control here. We have already this form context dot add address group. Okay, so if you have that form array, this form array actually will have this push method, and here I will use this array. Suppose let's say 0 index, 1 index, 1 index will have that state, city, country, that group. That is why this group all about. Okay, now let's see, and click. Yes, that is dynamic part is coming. Okay, now time to add that control. Okay, let me copy, paste it over here, and here what I'll do, ng container. Basically what will happen if I save this change here, now if I open the console, see errors are coming. Okay, so cannot find control with path addresses first name. So basically what is happening here, so DOM actually trying to find out, so this form instance is having this address, I mean this one it is found, but after that, as this is array, so 0 index, first 0 index we have added one form group, right? So inside the 0 index here, this is looping through, so this address is nothing but that first object. Okay, but inside this first object, what will be the group name? So this is the, as this is group, so what will be the group name? As we added that, if we see that static part here, names group, then first name. Okay, so if I go to the here, form instance will have the group name, then the control name here. So this tree structure DOM able to find out in this scenario. So form instance, then the form array name, then the form group name, because inside the array more group will be there. Okay, so that is why what we need to do here, we need to mention the form, what will be the form group name. Okay, form group name. So for that, here group name will be basically a index. Okay, row index equal to index, and this index I will use as interpolation. Now if I save this change, now it is saying, okay, so middle name, and these are the, actually that is not part of this, so I will change this with country, enter city name here. Okay, so the city name basically will be the free text. Now let's save this change. Now error has gone. Okay, just keep in mind here, most of the developer actually forget to add this part. Okay, now it's cool. Now if I click, so dynamic form group controls are added here inside this. Now what next step is to I need to remove this from group if user want. Okay, so for that what I need to do here, basically I will use one mat icon or relative, and then I will use click event. Okay, now let's save this change. Let's see whether that yes icon is coming here. Yes. Okay, now if I click on this remove, what I need to pass here, this row index. Okay, this row index I need to pass, because if we want to remove the array element, then we should have that index part. And then let's see this address here, as this is, sorry, where is that address, as this is array form array, so instead of that array we have the splice other method we have here at. Okay, and here we can see any other remove at. Yes, this method. Okay, remove at, we need to pass the index. If we pass the index, so it will remove. Now if I mouse over remove at, actually it is returning a void. Just save this all change. Now click, yes, it has got removed, right? Now click, yes, it is removing, but I want the first one should not be removed from the DOM. So that is easy, quite. Star ng if, and if the row index greater than 0, then only we can have that icon, right? Okay, cool. Now next part is if I click this country, the country list should be available here, and based on that country, state also will be available here. Okay, so for that what I have written one service that is called country state city service, and this is three methods: load countries, load state, and load cities. And as of now, this country list URL, basically if I go here, so this is basically a dummy JSON file, and this time we are not reading the countries list and state list, cities list from the database side, but yes, you can put that. If I go to the, yes, I have placed all the files, cities, countries, and states. Okay, now here load countries, so this service basically will use inside this. So for that, let me consider the observables here inside this ng on init, and then we have to use this observable, but before that we need to use that mat. Let's save this change, and now if I click, see, list of countries are available here. Okay, now if I select that object display the only name, so that is what we already know about this display. I already discussed in my previous sessions. So just this display with will actually accept maybe, and this we need to assign here. And now let's save this change and select. Yes, that is working. Now based on selection, I need to fetch the state. Okay, for that what to do, as I'm using the reactive form, I'm not going to use any any other kind of event like on selection or on change. Those I'm not going to use here. Okay, so this reactive form will have the power to detect the change. Here I will use, so for that I have already written some of the customization code here. So I'm explaining here what is happening. Okay, if anything is happening inside this form instance, so that value change will trigger, and here we are looping through the group, I mean that addresses and names, right? So and we are extracting the key. Okay, if that is key is containing the address, then each address will have that again the controls, that is controls is nothing but that array instances. Okay, so I mean array elements. So this controls for each loop is looping through, and this address is nothing but this one group, and then the index the array index number. And then I have created one more private method that is called register every control. I mean every control change I need to detect. So for that, it is basically accepting that controls, this controls is nothing but this object element, I mean country, state, city. And then it is also expecting like index. Okay, so each array index, so it is looping through each array index, it is expecting, and that is basically an optional. And then we are looping through this object controls. Which one? So this state, country, city, each time actually we are looping through for each control. Okay, and here we are looping through these controls, and control key we are extracting. So first time control key will be country, then state, then city, like that. And each control actually we are observing it as abstract control, and then this abstract control, each abstract control will have that value change observable, and we are subscribing. So we are passing on control change. Basically, if we put a debugger inside this on control change, which control exactly is triggering, or you can say modifying, we can get to know from this private method. Okay, and if it is not address, then group, I mean that names part, I mean name part here, names part. So for that, simply similar way, similar fashion here, control group, and control group will have that controls. We are passing that controls inside this register every control. And for that static group, we do not need any this index part, right? Now let me open the browser here, and I will show you the change part. Okay, let's say I am changing something in the middle of the array. Okay, say data is coming this one, as I added the value of the one country object, and then the control key is the country, and then the index is the 1, I mean 0, 1, 2, and 1 I have changed, right? Now if I here one problem, see 2 times debugger captured. Now if I change again something, let's say this one, now I guess 3 time will capture 1, already 2, already 3. Like if I again do some changes, then 4 times debugger will catch. Okay, so that is basically that first, second, third, whatever previous observable actually not destroying. That is what again we should stop that. Otherwise, let's imagine, suppose let's say for the form, dynamic form, if we use any HTTP service call here, so multiple times service call will happen. Okay, but that should not be the case, right? So in that scenario, what to do? I have another solution. Okay, I need to stop that observable, right? So for that, here I will use one private property that is called maybe remove subscription, and that should be okay. Now use this, what to use here. After form changes, I will use this dot next with value is null. Okay, this will basically will destroy, this will consider the what is called next event, and this event should be destroyed here. Okay, where is that part? subscribing here value change, yes, each control, right? Dot, I will use the pipe and take until this operator. Okay, actually yes, this is expecting notifier. Yes, this one I leave it, right? Now let's save this change. Now put debugger here, yes. Now let's say me change here one time debugger. Now change any other time, yes, one more time, yes, every time only single it is detecting. Okay, so this is actually one another key point we should remember, otherwise multiple call will happen, and you won't find out the reason why it is happening. I already faced so many times in my real time project. After spend lot of time, then I able to detect what is happening inside that form. Okay, and now you got to know, right? So here I can use, so now if I change something here also, here I can see, okay, data is coming, this control is the middle name control key, and the index here it will be nothing. Now if I change here city name, let's say the data will be this, and control name city, and index will be 2, because in 2 index I have changed the array. Now here I can use control key dot includes. See, in the reactive form, some lot of code I need to write, but it will give you the flexibility when you have the dynamic form. Suppose let's say JSONs are coming metadata driven, that is called. So that JSON, based on that JSON, you need to write the code, and one time investment but multiple time output. Okay, I will show you that part in next session. Okay, country, load states, and during load state I need to pass the country code, so here it will come. Now let's save this change and go to that here. Let me quickly copy and paste it for the state as well. Yes, now here I will use that states observable, and other than that everything will be remain same. Yes, let's save this change, and here I will put key, yes, this in this area. Now let's say I'm changing here American Samoa, yes, that ID is 4, and based on that this will come, right? Okay, so cool. So that state list is coming. Now if I change anything, let's say Afghanistan, and see the state list are coming based on the country. Okay, but problem is here, one more problem. See, let's say if I change the country, see, this name actually is not part of this state, right? So this should be by default would be blank if I change the country here. So how to do that? Let me go to the code here. Where yes. How to get that part? Yes, we have that addresses dot this at method. If I pass this index, it will give me that. What is that? Okay, as this is optional, that is why it actually throwing an error. If the valid index is coming, then I can use that patch value. Okay, but before that, what I'll do here, get, I need to change the value for state, this patch value. Okay, possibly null, then I need to put the ASCII symbol, question mark. Here patch value will be blank, right? So what is happening? So address array, from address array we are getting that right index element, and then we are from that element we have that country, state, city, 3 control, but among those 3 control I should change the value for state. So that is why I'm passing here get state, and then that patch value. So if I want to change any control value, then I should use this patch value method. Okay, now let's save this change. Okay, now let me quickly change it. Let's say one. Now if I Bangladesh, yes, this is getting changed. Cool. Now this way I can use the dynamic form. Okay, so apart from that, whatever we have done already for this, info icon, other, for displaying messages and all, so that part you can, use directly, from that my previous session. Okay, so that part I'm not, going to explain in this session. I guess I have discussed all the points here, reference type, data control, dynamic form. Yes, one more thing is I need to do, that is called handle form submit. Yes, let me quickly print. Values are coming here, dot get raw value. Now let's save this change. Now let's click save. Okay, while I click save, now see in the console you can have that exactly, the same format what you have written here, in this group, names, address. So here is the names, address, and this address actually basically an array. This address will have this city and state, country, basically an object, because we have assigned that object to the value. If I go to that HTML here value direct one object, that is why it is returning that part. And one index also same thing, and names, yes. So this way we can get, and this one you can directly send to the API server for the saving part. Okay, and if API ask you to send only the country code instead of that country object, you can filter it from this response. Okay, and you can send them. So cool. As of now, I guess enough talk about this reactive form, group and array. And next part we'll talk about that reactive dynamic form. I mean, if we create one form structure, I can use that form anywhere in my application. What we need to do, we need to pass the one standard JSON structure. That's all. So after that will take care everything for validation, info icon, other part as well. Okay, so that is heavily used in the, let's say, if you work on project which is basically kind of CMS or purely dynamic part, in the, that case this kind of dynamic part heavily used. Okay, so we'll see in the next session. So for that, stay tuned and be safe. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.